In the summer of 222, a French shepherd boy named Stephen of Cloyes claimed he had a vision. Jesus Christ appeared to him and commanded him to lead a crusade to reclaim Jerusalem. Not an army of knights, not trained soldiers, children, pure, innocent children. Stephen believed that God would part the Mediterranean Sea for them, just as he parted the Red Sea for Moses. Thousands of children believed him. They abandoned their homes, left their families, and marched south toward the sea. Most of them never came home. This is the Children's Crusade, one of the most tragic and disturbing events in medieval history. Stephen was around 12 years old, a poor shepherd from a village near Orléans. He claimed that Christ had given him a letter instructing him to lead a crusade of children to the Holy Land. According to medieval chronicles, Stephen travelled to Paris and presented himself to King Philip II. The king consulted with church officials. They told him the boy was deluded. Philip ordered the children to go home, but Stephen ignored the king. He began preaching in towns and villages across France. His message was simple. The adult crusades had failed because the crusaders were corrupted by sin. But children were pure, innocent. God would grant them victory where knights had failed. The sea would part. Jerusalem would fall without a battle. Thousands believed him. By June 1212, an estimated 30,000 children, teenagers, and young adults had joined Stephen's march. The march was a disaster from the start. Most of the children had no food, no supplies, no plan beyond reaching the sea and waiting for a miracle. They walked hundreds of miles in the summer heat. Many collapsed from exhaustion. Some died along the road. Parents chased after the march, trying to bring their children home. Some succeeded. Most did not. The church condemned Stephen as a false prophet, but the children kept marching. By the time they reached the Mediterranean port of Marseille, their numbers had dwindled to around 7,000. They camped on the beach and waited. They prayed. They sang hymns. They stared at the waves. The sea did not part. Days passed, then weeks. No miracle came. That is when the merchants arrived. Two men, Hugh the Iron and William the Pig, offered to transport the children to the Holy Land for free. Out of Christian charity, they said. Stephen accepted. The children boarded 7 ships. They sailed away from Marseille, cheering and praying. They believed they were finally going to Jerusalem. They were not. The ships sailed south, not to the Holy Land, to North Africa, to the slave markets of Algeria and Tunisia. Hugh and William had made a deal with Muslim slave traders. They sold the children, all of them. Thousands of French children who had believed they were on a divine mission were sold into slavery. Some were bought by wealthy families as servants. Others were sent to labour in mines and fields. A few were ransomed back to Europe years later. Most were never heard from again. Stephen of Cloyes vanished. Some chronicles say he returned to France in shame. Others say he died in the Holy Land. We will never know. The Children's Crusade was not one event. It was 2. Around the same time Stephen was marching in France, a German boy named Nicholas of Cologne led a similar movement. His march ended in Italy, where the children were either sent home or disappeared into the same slave trade. Modern historians debate how many participants were actually children and how many were poor young adults. Some argue the whole event has been exaggerated by later writers. But the core truth remains. In 1222, thousands of young people, inspired by religious fervour and false promises, marched toward the Holy Land, and they never came home. The Children's Crusade is a reminder of the power of belief and the danger of blind faith.